What really happens when the last Bitcoin is mined? Imagine the year is 2140, a year so distant it almost feels like science fiction. Cities will look different, technology will be unrecognizable, and generations from now will live in ways we can barely imagine. Yet one quiet event will occur. The final Bitcoin will be mined. People often imagine this moment as some dramatic turning point, like the end of Bitcoin itself, or the collapse of its security. But the true story is far more subtle and more fascinating than most realize, because what actually happens reveals the genius of its design. Bitcoin was created with a hard-coded supply of exactly 21 million coins, not 21.1 million, not 22 million, but precisely capped forever. This rule cannot be broken, edited, or altered by politicians, bankers, or miners. It is the untouchable law written into Bitcoin's DNA. To reach that cap, Bitcoin undergoes halvings every 4 years. During these events, the reward miners receive for securing the network is cut in half. It shrinks from 50 to 25 to 12.5 and continues downward, until eventually, block rewards vanish entirely around the year 2140. At that moment, the very last Satoshi, the smallest divisible unit of Bitcoin, will be mined, and the faucet of new coins will close forever. No more Bitcoin will ever enter circulation. Humanity will finally meet perfect monetary scarcity, something no currency in history has ever achieved. But here's the mystery most people miss. Mining is not only about creating new coins. It is about securing the network, validating transactions, and protecting Bitcoin from corruption. So if block rewards disappear, does the system fall apart? Or is there another hidden mechanism at work? The answer is transaction fees. Every time you send Bitcoin, you attach a fee. These fees don't vanish into the ether. They are collected by miners as their reward for keeping the system running, not as charity, but as direct payment for their essential services. Today, miners earn most of their income from new Bitcoin issuance. But that balance is shifting over time. As halvings reduce the block reward, fees become increasingly important. By 2140, fees will be the entire incentive structure keeping miners honest and the network alive. This was no accident. Satoshi Nakamoto intentionally designed Bitcoin to phase out subsidies and test whether transaction fees alone could secure the network. Every halving acts like a rehearsal, a slow-motion stress test preparing Bitcoin for the moment when inflation permanently disappears. So the question isn't whether Bitcoin stops in 2140. The question is whether Bitcoin grows valuable and widely used enough that people happily pay fees to secure their transactions. If it does, then miners may earn more from fees than they ever did from block rewards. Think about that. If Bitcoin becomes global money, carrying trillions in value across its network, fees alone could rival or exceed what miners earn today. Bitcoin's heartbeat could grow even stronger, powered not by inflation, but by real-world demand for its security. Of course, the opposite is also possible. If adoption slows, if people fail to see Bitcoin's importance, or if usage never grows, fees could remain low. In that world, the incentive for miners weakens, and the network might become more fragile. The ultimate test of resilience. But here's the real hidden knowledge. The transition doesn't suddenly happen in 2140. It is happening right now. Every halving brings us closer. Every drop in block rewards forces fees to play a bigger role. We are living through the rehearsal for Bitcoin's endgame. Imagine being alive today, during these chapters. Most people don't realize what is unfolding. They see Bitcoin as volatile, speculative, or confusing. Yet beneath the surface, an experiment is maturing, one that future generations will look back on as humanity's turning point. Contrast this with fiat currency, dollars, euros, yen. They have no limits, no discipline, no endgame. Governments endlessly print, central banks endlessly manipulate, and inflation eats away at people's savings. Fiat's future is endless supply. Bitcoin's future is perfect scarcity. And this is why the year 2140 matters. Not because something explodes, collapses, or ends, but because humanity will, for the first time, witness a monetary system that has truly run its full course. A system that achieves absolute scarcity without human interference. But don't imagine fireworks or global announcements when the last Bitcoin is mined. In reality, it will be quiet. One miner will add one block. The world may not even notice. Yet, in that moment, history will quietly change forever. That block will carry no new Bitcoin reward, only transaction fees. And with that, the subsidy era will end. Bitcoin will have fully matured into a fee-only economy, powered not by inflation, but by demand, trust, and the unstoppable need for incorruptible money. From then on, every block will prove the same truth. Bitcoin doesn't need constant new supply. It doesn't need a central authority. It doesn't need anyone's permission. It simply keeps running, secured by those who value it enough to pay for its survival. This is why Bitcoin is often called immortal, because unlike every system before it, it doesn't rely on kings, presidents, or corporations. It relies on mathematics, incentives, and human choice. As long as people care about truth in money, Bitcoin will live on. Every halving between now and 2140 is a countdown, a drumbeat reminding us of what's coming. Less subsidy, more reliance on fees, more pressure on adoption, and ultimately, more proof of whether humanity will embrace true scarcity or fall back to endless inflation. Right now, most people are blind to this story. They focus on price charts, trading, and hype. But the real story is unfolding quietly, block by block. We are witnessing the preparation for the day when Bitcoin fully transitions into its final phase. And here's the part that gives me chills. The real question of 2140 is not what happens to Bitcoin. The real question is what happens to humanity? Will we be ready for a world where money is truly scarce, incorruptible, and beyond manipulation? If Bitcoin succeeds, 2140 will not feel like an ending. It will feel like a validation, a quiet final confirmation that the system worked exactly as designed. The incentives held, the network survived, and the dream of sound money became reality. That is the secret most people miss. The last Bitcoin being mined is not death. It is completion. It is Bitcoin stepping into its ultimate destiny as the first currency that belongs to no one, yet serves everyone. Forever capped, forever trusted, forever scarce. And so the question you must ask yourself is simple. When the history books are written about this experiment, will you be one of the few who saw it coming early? Or will you be part of the billions who only understood after it was too late? Because make no mistake, the countdown is already ticking, block by block, halving by halving, until the final moment when the last Bitcoin is mined, and humanity steps into a future where money itself has finally achieved truth. So if you've watched this far, you already know more than most of the world. You've seen the hidden story behind Bitcoin's future, and you understand why 2140 is not the end, but the most important milestone in monetary history. Now is the time to go deeper, to prepare yourself, to become part of the few who truly understand what's coming. Subscribe to this channel, share this knowledge, and join me in uncovering the secrets no one else is talking about before the world catches on.